Great. Let's move to the second one. This is where we actually gonna install the no-name platform, right? In one of the VMs that we have been provisioned. Okay. In fact, in this walkthrough, it's split into four different sections for different recordings. That is, the first one, we're gonna make sure that our VM meets the minimum requirements. And again, remember the minimum requirements like eight CPUs, 32 gigs of RAM, 256 gigabytes of hard disk, and so on. We're going to talk about some Docker commands that we will be using throughout, and also making sure that Docker is of the right version, it's properly running, and so on. We'll talk, and only then, after the very first two sections, then we're going to go ahead and install the no-name platform. We're going to wait. It takes about 10-15 minutes for the whole thing to install, and that's going to give me the ability to explain to you all the different components. The screenshot pretty much shows you, and again, if you pay attention, I took this screenshot yesterday, 0613, right? So today is 0614, in case you're wondering when I'm doing this recording. So installation ended successfully and everything is running. Everything is running. Okay, and this command is docker service ls. We'll see it as well. Okay, so once we have the no-name platform installed, then we're gonna make sure that the user interface is responsive. Just logging in, accessing the user interface, and of course providing the license file. The very first time you log into the no-name platform, a freshly installed no-name platform, we must provide with the license file. Okay. Cool. So let's begin with the very first ensure the VM meets the minimum requirements section. Now, to do that, you need a terminal, guys. You need a terminal. It's unavoidable, right? We need to get our hands dirty with Unix. Okay, so I'm gonna get me a terminal, and of course it was open on a different window. So here's my terminal. I'm going to use this terminal to install the no-name platform. And again, if you're on Windows, use PuTTY or any other window that gives you the ability, terminal that gives you the ability to SSH into a remote host, right? And if you're on a Mac, you can use straight up the terminal that is available on a Mac. If you're on Linux, you can use whatever terminal is available. I'm on Linux, by the way, and I'm going to rename the tab. I'm going to call it no name because I will be installing the no-name platform on this tab. And I'm going to open another tab soon enough for the remote engine. All right, so I'm going to do an SSH command. The username is no-name at, and you need the no-name prefixed host. When you ask for VMs, I'm going to provide you two VMs. One is going to be prefixed no-name. The other one is going to have a label remote, right? So label no-name, label remote. So you need the no-name labeled hostname or the no-name prefixed hostname. Okay, and again, these are EC2s. We're going under Amazon AWS. The password, I'm going to type the password right after, and then I'm going to delete it so that I'm able to log in. So it's no name, maybe increase the size. There we go. Of the font, no name training, one exclamation and without a Y. All right, so that's your password. No name training, one exclamation. That's the password. Capital N, no name, capital T, training, one exclamation. All right, so now I can delete it and log in myself. All right, the very first time you log in, type yes. Capital N, no name, capital T, training, one exclamation. Now, word of warning, if you idle enough here, if I sit here for, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, idling, maybe less than that, I haven't timed it, you may be kicked out due to inactivity, right? Due to idling. Okay. All right, excellent. So there's a couple of things I would like us to test, and that is whether we have a VM that meets the minimum requirements. Okay. So the very first thing we want to test is whether our CPU, and there are commands, for example, in Ubuntu. This is Ubuntu 2204 LTS version, there's a command like lscpu that gives us the ability to gain feedback with respect to our CPU. And if you pay attention, I'm having 8 CPUs, right? So we meet the minimum requirements on that end. The next command is lsmem, enter 32 gigs of RAM. And the last thing I would like to do on this end, right, is make sure that our hard disk is of the right size. To do that, df-h, and this is what you're interested in, right? The dev root that you see right here with 263 gigabyte mounted on the root folder. That's the key here. It's the root folder you're interested in. Okay, so we have over 256 gigs of RAM. So we meet the minimum requirements. And again, we're not going to partition the disk, even though we can. We will not do that. We're going to keep it as is for the sake of brevity, right? I don't want to change this into an OS management course. All right, so great. So with this, we have concluded now this section, right? So let's go track down the section end slide. There you go. So we have a VM that meets the minimum requirements.